anniversary of the Pilgrims' landing in Plymouth, but many ignored this important event or even lamented it. This is vastly different from earlier anniversaries, where the Pilgrims and the Puritans who followed them were celebrated as apostles of freedom. For instance, in a speech commemorating the 200th anniversary of the Pilgrims' landing at Plymouth, the great orator and United States Senator Daniel Webster lauded these refugees as the authors of American civil and religious liberty. In the mid-19th century, it became popular to describe the Pilgrims and Puritans as dour, mean-spirited theocrats. For instance, Moses Coit Tyler, an important 19th century literary critic, made the accusation that they cultivated the grim and the ugly. More recently, the journalist H.L. Mencken described them as harboring a haunting fear that someone somewhere may be happy. And the playwright Arthur Miller explained that they were theocrats who desired to prevent any kind of disunity. In the first chapter, I respond to such critics. I acknowledge that Puritans were not 21st century liberal Democrats, but show that they respected the rule of law, created the most Republican governments the world had ever seen, passed laws to protect women, children, and animals, and embraced a version of religious toleration. The War for American Independence was, at its core, about liberty and equality. However, according to some critics, the Patriots could not have been motivated by Christian ideas because the Bible prohibits rebellion and the war was unjust. Instead of Christianity, America's founders drew from other intellectual traditions to justify resisting British tyranny. In the second chapter, I show that American patriots drew from a long tradition of Jewish and Christian political thought that permits and even requires resistance to tyranny. Moreover, they had good reasons to believe that the Crown and Parliament planned to significantly infringe upon the colonists' constitutional and natural rights. The War for American Independence was a biblical and just war, fought to secure political and religious liberty. It is no accident that one of the most prominent symbols of American freedom, the Liberty Bell, is inscribed with the biblical admonition to proclaim liberty throughout all the land, unto all inhabitants thereof. America's founders are routinely condemned because they owned slaves and did not immediately abolish this horrible institution. The New York Times' 1619 Project went so far as to assert that the War for American Independence was fought to preserve slavery, and that the founders crafted a pro-slavery constitution. The 1619 Project may be irresponsible, but numerous scholars, activists, and popular authors make similar, if less grossly inflated, claims. Furthermore, such charges are not just brought by secular authors. In a 2018 4th of July editorial, Mark Galli, editor of the influential magazine Christianity Today, asks, "Can we, in any way, shape, or form, say that America was founded on Christian principles when its very existence and prosperity were set on a foundation of unimaginable cruelty to millions of other human beings?" A question which he answers with a resounding no. The foundation of which he speaks is the oppression of African Americans and Native Americans. In Chapter 3, I acknowledge that there is some truth to these accusations, but argue that we should recognize that many founders never owned slaves. Some of those who did voluntarily freed them, and that many actively opposed this peculiar institution. Indeed, slavery was voluntarily abolished or put on the road to extinction in 8 states between 1776 and 1804, and significant steps were taken at the national level to end it. Unfortunately, the invention of the cotton gin in 1794 gave slavery a new lease on life in the American South. There were relatively few evangelicals in 18th century America, but their numbers exploded in the 19th century. The first priority for most evangelicals was sharing their faith, but a close second was reforming society. Among their chief concerns were the abolition of slavery and protecting the rights of Native Americans. Moreover, for the first time, numerous women, notably evangelical